business family. My father is a businessman. My mother is a homemaker. I love sports. I play cricket and badminton, and I read extensively. I'm an avid reader, and I've got a deep-rooted interest in reading about my country.
That's great. When I look at your profile here, it says you have 7 years gap.
Yes, sir. I graduated in 2012. Sir, I was preparing for civil services, so I prepared for it very seriously. In fact, I wrote mains 4 times. I appeared for the interview also a couple of times, but unfortunately, I could not convert it. So that is because of which it is like I'm appearing for this after 7 years of my graduation.
You wasted your 5 years completely.
Sir, no, I did not. It's 7 years. I did not waste it, sir. I read a lot in this phase of my studies for civil services. So the syllabus of civil services is such that I had to read a lot. And the good part was that while reading for my studies, I actually acquired an interest in reading. So I actually read a lot of stuff, including general studies, and then since history was a subject, I had to read history. Then gradually generated some interest in mythology and all. So all these things put together along with my reading and my preparation actually made me a better person. So I really feel that after all these years of preparation, having invested time in reading and all, I'm a better individual and a better future professional than I probably would have been 4 or 5 years back.
But I somehow don't see any relationship with bank. What value will it add in bank, your reading of history and mythology? I just can't see any.
So there is no direct connection as such, but if I talk about my, let's say, my reading and my knowledge of history, history gives you a broader perspective. Apart from just generating the knowledge base, if I talk about the benefits of reading history, it makes me more open-minded. It makes me analyze things. It makes me think and read critically. So I'm more open-minded now. I pay attention to details. So all these things have been added to my personality because of my interest in history. All this reading has given me this dimension.
Okay. So history and mythology, it's just like it's a little paradoxical, isn't it? Same person having interest in history and mythology. What's your definition of history and mythology? Let me get that.
So, if I put it simply, history is an account of facts. So, whatever is documented as a fact is history. And mythology is based on myths, on hearsay, on urban legends, anything that cannot be verified, but it's believed by people. It's more of a cultural thing. It's ingrained in us as faith. I would call it mythology.
Okay.
So it's not really two different things. The problem comes when we look at it as a dichotomous relationship. On one end is history, and another end is mythology. If you look at it in conjunction, then it gives you a lot of stuff. For example, if just to give you an idea as to why I'm interested in mythology, if you look at Lord Ram as the ruler of Ayodhya, so Ayodhya is a very small state. You would not have heard of any other ruler of Ayodhya. So Lord Ram is important for us because he's a part of mythology. Had Lord Ram being the ruler of Ayodhya as a part of history, he would probably have been very less important as compared to somebody like Ashoka or probably the Mauryan Empire or the Gupta Empire. So mythology that way is extremely important. History is important for a different reason. Mythology is important for different reasons. It's about faith and what you believe in. That is how I balance.
What interests you more?
So both interest me. In fact, the alternative take on mythology interests me the most. Alternative means that there is a story that we have heard about all the epics, all the epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana, and then there is an alternative take of certain people. So that part of mythology interests me the most. The part that questions the beliefs. So that is the part that interests me in mythology.
Okay, so you think on your own, or have you read some of the authors?
Sir, I like thinking, but yes, I have read certain books that were of this genre and they actually interested me. One I read was Yuganta by Iravati Karve. Yeah. So it was basically it's Mahabharata, but it's not the story of Mahabharata. All of us know about that. So it's the human take on Mahabharata. So it is like if Mahabharata was real, had it happened, had it been history. So what would the characters of Mahabharata be like? So they are not like gods to us, they are like humans. And then she has analyzed those characters. And that sounds so logical, so rational. It gives you so much to think and learn from. That it actually is a wonderful experience going through it. after having learned Mahabharata from the time when we were kids. So it gives you a different take on the same subjects.
It sounds interesting. Can you give me some bit from the book?
Yes, sir. What she has done in the book, and if I talk about this particular book, she has taken characters and talked about them. For example, let's talk about Bhishma. Bhishma was the patriarch. All of us know about the heroics of Bhishma. But she talks about the weaknesses of these heroes. So the problem with the way stories are told, especially in these epics, is that they depict people in either black or white. But all of us are shades of grey. That is what she talks about. So Bhishma also had his weaknesses. So she highlights them more to make it interesting for us. For example, she says that Bhishma is a failure. Bhishma is a failure for the simple fact that despite being all powerful, he could never bring the warring princes together, or for that matter, he could not stop the bloodshed or the war. So that's a failure on the part of Bhishma. He did everything that he could to kind of support the family or did whatever was required, but never broke his vow. So if you look at that, it was a good part. To break a promise is not be good, but what is it worth if it still cannot stop the bloodshed and all? So he promised something, he pledged something, he did not break it, but at what cost? So these are the human traits. Had he been a little more practical, then probably the history could have been something else. But then it's not history, it's mythology. So that way it was interesting. So she discusses characters like that. So all the characters have been discussed like that, and that's the interesting part of it.
Any other such book you have read?
In fact, sir, I've read many. Another book that I liked a lot, it's again related to Mahabharata, is Ajaya. It's by Anand Neelkanthan. He has written a few such books. Again, it's the story of Mahabharata from the angle of the vanquished. All of us understand that history is a account of facts, but history is written by the victors. Fine. So if two people have a war, the one who wins writes the history. Right. So history might be a little tweaked. So that is history, not history. That is the story of Mahabharata from the point of view of Duryodhana. So that is also very interesting. And it's not that he's just saying something. He says stuff with reason, with logic, saying how is that possible. For example, Duryodhana. Which king would want to name his eldest son as Duryodhana? Duryodhana. Du means it's bad. So it says that in all probability the name was Suyodhana, and it was made Duryodhana by the Pandavas. But since we consider Pandavas and Sri Krishna as our heroes, we'll never think about it. So it gives an alternative take on this, and it's very interesting. It makes us think, it makes us analyze stuff, makes us more open. So that is where my interest in all these things come from.
Okay, so a lot of history, mythology. What's your take on Sabrimala?
Oh yeah, sir, Sabrimala is sir, I've read about it. It's a very contentious matter. Sabrimala is a very contentious matter in the sense that the court says that people should be, or all people should be. Should I elaborate about the issue?
You can, yeah.
So Sabrimala is a temple on a hilltop in Kerala. So it's one of the most pious places. It's one of the top pilgrimage places in India for Hindus. Women of a certain age could not worship there for a very long time. So, 1991, there was a High Court judgment that talked about it, that women of menstruating age could not worship there, from 10 to 50 could not worship there. Now, Supreme Court recently overturned that judgment in September last year, saying that it basically violates the right to equality and the right to worship. Both the things have been violated, and everybody should be allowed to go and worship over there. And this is what is creating a problem. So there is a huge row and huge ruckus over it because of the faith of people. Now they are not allowing women to worship over there. So that is what the whole issue is about. Supreme Court has overturned the High Court judgment, which says that women are not allowed. Now everybody is allowed as per the Supreme Court judgment, but people are not allowing that. State government is in a fix because on one side it cannot say that it's not for equality. On the other side, it cannot afford to antagonize the people who believe in traditions and the age-old practices. So this is the problem.
What's the mythological take? Why this faith? Where does that come from? I think you would be the right person to answer that.
So there are two things. One is that in Hindus, unfortunately, this whole thing, menstruation thing, is considered impure. Fine. So this is one reason that they say which is, I'll say, unfortunate that this would become polluted. The place would become polluted if menstruating women are allowed there. So this is one reason, and this also is there in some of the other temples. That's there. But another, and it's a story. You said mythology. It's a story. Is that the deity over there, Lord Ayappa, is celibate. So he practices celibacy. The legend is that there was a demoness that he defeated in the war. So that demoness was to be defeated by by the son of Vishnu and Shiva. So Lord Ayappa was the son of Shiva and Mohini. Mohini is like Vishnu. So he defeated this demoness, and this demoness, as happens in mythology, turns into a goddess. Now this goddess wanted to marry Lord Ayappa, but Lord Ayappa had again pledged not to marry, so he wanted to practice celibacy, and he could not marry. So this goddess, the demoness who became a goddess afterwards, also is a temple, and they think that she has the first right to marry Lord Ayappa then. So Lord Ayappa had put a condition saying that you can only marry me if people stop visiting me. People never stopped visiting, new devotees never stopped visiting him, and so she could never marry. So one point of view is that if women of this age go and meet Lord Ayappa, then it will be injustice to the goddess. So that is another take on it. So again, it's about faith that so they think that since the God does not want the women to visit him because he's practicing celibacy, they should not be allowed. So some people very logically also have defended this. They say that one has got right to privacy. So this God has got right to privacy in the sense that he does not want women to visit him, and so they should not be allowed.
What's your take on it?
Sir, as I said, it's a very contentious matter. If you look at the Supreme Court judgment, I am like completely with it. There is like complete violation of right to equality and right to worship if you forbid anybody from visiting that.
What about rights of Lord Ayappa?
Absolutely, sir. So that is where I am coming to. So when it comes to matters of deep faith, it is again, it's not a strict yes or no for me. For the simple reason that if you talk about equality and all, let's say we give them the right to do it. I think it's not worth all the bloodshed and the riots and all the ruckus, all the damage to public property it's going to create. So somebody has to be a little balanced, a little sane over in these matters and decide on peacefully. So if this right to worship and equality can be executed without resulting in a bloodshed or a loss of property or loss of human life, then it's good. Otherwise, I think it's not worth it.
Even Lord Ayappa would not like it.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, let's hear what our students have to say so far.
I think थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा हो गया ना ये लंबे.
This is good. Yeah. Okay, so we told you, yeah, the idea was not just to show a part of interview, to also give you a background. Now I'm quite sure anybody who is asked Sabrimala will have enough to talk about, right? They will say, okay, enough. I think you have good knowledge about it, right?
इसमें यस टाइम लिया दो रीजन थे. एक तो था कि अगेन आई एम नॉट एन एक्सपर्ट ऑन बैंकिंग एंड ऑल, सो आई वांटेड टू टॉक अबाउट इट. द इंटरव्यूअर वाज विलिंग टू लेट मी टॉक, सो हैड ही सेड इनफ Sabrimala, stop, I would have stopped. Two was to make you aware of what is happening over there. So that is the reason I'm saying that this is not a real interview. So probably in a real interview I would have explained the same thing in 60% of the time, but I would want to make a mark in something that I know. Right? So this is important, but just took a little more time so that you can understand. We told you now, all what we explained would be in this sense. You would cross question, I would answer. So that is the idea.
You could not understand this. And it's simple here. He said he again walked the middle path here, that in the matters of faith, it's very difficult to go with just rationality because it will unnecessarily cause a lot of bloodshed. So, if the Supreme Court verdict can be implemented without bloodshed, that is what he will welcome.
Absolutely.
That is his
बहुत simple stand है. देखो, I am all for equality and all, but if the Supreme Court verdict, आप जब बात करते हो Supreme Court के verdict, you are talking about logic, you are talking about rational. Let's say I am that judge that gives that decision. मैं भी ये नहीं चाहता वहां पर खून खराब हो. That is what I am saying. So I am saying if this equality and everything can be executed, can be implemented without resulting in all these things, do it. Otherwise, I'll say give away, relinquish this right of mine to worship over there. So some party has to make a compromise somewhere and say, let it be. I do not want this. घर से प्रार्थना कर लूँगा. Now these are not things on which you can judge me. No, I'm talking about all this in an interview. I might have a completely different opinion when I go out of it. But at that point, I have to sound logical, rational, being because इनका कोई सही जवाब नहीं होता है. If I say no sir, it should be implemented, there might be a supporter sitting over there saying ये क्या बकवास है यार, I'm a staunch Hindu, मैं तो ऐसे ही करूँगा. दूसरा भी हो
Why you have to offend somebody? Whatever your deep faith or is, again I told you, there is a reason why we have asked you to take that middle ground. If you are so inclined, again, even, to go against our wishes, you are free to. If you can defend, if it's your day, even, all the panel members are also thinking like you will just sail through, you will have fun, you will have ball. But just imagine, if all five are against, you will go in, very bad shape. So don't do that. Walk the middle path. That's always good. Yeah.
And middle path does not mean that आप बोलोगे नहीं सर मैं इसके लिए भी हूँ उसके लिए भी. No, you have to justify it.
Exactly.
And it is always like that. As I already said while answering, nothing is black and white. Everything is a shade of grey. So यहाँ पर भी वही होता है. So everything has its pros and cons. So people who justify why women should not be allowed to enter the Sabrimala temple also have got their point of view. In fact, there was a lawyer who said Lord Ayyappa has got his right to privacy. He does not want women to visit him because he is practicing celibacy. तो वो भी, you'll say भगवान का कैसे आप कर सकते हो ऐसे? But उसका भी वही लॉजिक था कि the God himself does not want women to visit him because it's celibate. क्यों आप जबरदस्ती उनकी प्राइवेसी में इन्फ्रिंजमेंट करो? This is like saying I do not want women to visit me. आप क्यों मेरे घर भेजोगे? So that temple is the house of Lord Ayyappa and he does not want women in there. And that's what people are like. Just read about it. आपके पास इसको याद नहीं करना है. If you read about it, you will get enough stuff to develop an opinion of your own. Yes, absolutely. Anku, that's what I'm saying. I have not marked it up. I know about the issue and I can express myself. This is it. Just practice.
There's no right and wrong. You can, if it was, just try to understand any contentious issue. If it had a yes or a no or a right or wrong, will it be contentious? Just think logically. There are two sides to it, and hence, you have to analyze both as a rational person. And nobody is asking you not to have a personal faith, but again, having a fanatic thought process, does that really help? What it leads to is those riots and bloodshed. Would you want to be involved there? Just think over it, yeah. Yeah, we are taking the most difficult, most contentious issue for you to understand how to handle these things. Okay, so now you understand the thought process. You have to form informed opinion. That will happen only if you read and then justify it logically. That is the crux, the bottom line. Okay, no matter what the issue is.
Saurav, you'll get this story. I mean, just open, just type Sabrimala issue on Google. You will get lots
mythology of behind Sabrimala issue. Just type that, and he's a history student. There it's relevant also, right?
And this is interesting for me as well. That story of the demoness and goddess. So I kind of related it. Had I been a commerce student, probably I would have been to the point in that sense. So somebody said it was a long story. It was a long story because
he's a history.
Think about that.
He's a history student who is very interested in mythology, who has already given me 2 takes on Mahabharata. I'll be, even as a panelist here, I am bored by listening to all your engineers. Out of my 100 applicants, some 80 are engineers. There is an interesting guy who has already done not so well in his life, as per my understanding. 7-year gap for me. However well someone justifies, I'm not very happy. But now he is giving me reason to like him. Why would not I give him a chance? आप खुद सोच करके देखो एक बार. Just sit there and think.
देखो, he would not like my profile maybe, but what did I do? I made sure that I justified this 7-year gap by saying, sir, बहुत सारा पढ़ा और बहुत सारा समझा. I learned a lot. 2, said यार अभी भी history का background कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा. Had he been a commerce student, probably would be more useful to a bank. And I said, sir, जो मेरा perspective develop किया अपना by having this keen interest in my subject, will be useful. What did I talk about? Think about that. Problem solving skills, open mind, critical reading. ये क्या है? I was selling myself. ऐसे बेचूंगा ना? There were so many things that I talked about. By reading a lot, I first gained knowledge. Then I could critically analyze the issues. I can take a decision. I pay attention to details. All these things have been added to my personality through my subject. That's history. Now, if it's geography, you cannot say the same set, but yes, there will be some over intersection, and then you can do it for geography as well. Think about different things. Geography में probably will talk about, sir, मेरे को इतनी knowledge है about different countries and different states and all the parts of the world and stuff like that. Think about your subjects. If I can do it for history, history से मेरा कोई connection नहीं है, then you can definitely do it for your own subjects. Think about it. There is no one concrete best answer to such questions जो मैं आपको दे दूंगा. नहीं, and the answer should be different for all of you.
Exactly.
This CAD plus CAD
this SG we will discuss when we have a commerce profile.
SG will do that.
Don't worry. It is there in my PDF. Please just worried about. Just type the same thing on Google. You would have got the answer by now. Current account deficit plus capital account deficit is 0. Again, it's irrelevant here. Yeah. History student. Why do you want me to ask him? Current account deficit. Kahan ho yaar? Again, this. Forget it. Okay.
Yes, that's what I talked about. Women forbid going to Ayappa because it's out of respect for the love of female goddess for Ayappa. Absolutely. Two things that I could understand for these two things. But one point of view here would be that if the females themselves are saying will not do that because of as a mark of respect for these two, it's okay. But if a female wants to visit, still wants to visit, how can you stop the person? So that is the counter argument over there.
Yeah, there is no PDF. Whatever PDF is there, it's
Chalo start
folder, right? Chalo, okay, let's finish it now. Okay. Okay. Okay, Abhishek. Enough of mythology and history. Let's get back to banking. Let's see what knowledge you have about banking. Okay, so tell me how many kind of banking licenses are generally there?
So there are two that I'm aware of. It used to be just one license, the universal license, till about 4-5 years back. But Mr. Raghuram Rajan had formed a committee, Nachiket Moore committee, who recommended having one more license for a specific demography. So now there are two licenses, universal license and differentiated license. So differentiated license keeps in mind a particular demography, so it serves a very specific purpose. And it does not do all the banking operations that are generally done by nationalized banks and scheduled banks.
You're telling it's a niche bank?
It's a niche bank, sir, yes.
Can you give me some examples?
Yes, sir. Small finance banks, payment banks. Okay. So these are two examples that are currently there. I mean, these are the two that are already operational, and there are a few that are under process.
Okay.
So,
can you
yes. So if you, I'll need to just think about that. Custodian bank is one that is under process, and there is a couple more that are under process. They are under discussion in this one. So two are already in place, and
a couple more
are in discussion. Okay. Yeah.
So what is the difference between these two? Payment bank, small finance bank. What exactly?
They serve very specific purposes. So if I talk about payments bank, the idea is to make it easy for small depositors. So small depositors means the limit for a payment bank is just 1 lakh rupees. So you cannot deposit more than 1 lakh rupees in a payment bank. So a payment bank cannot, for example, give loans or cannot issue credit cards, but will have ATMs. So that is the purpose of a payment bank. Whereas a small finance bank would not do all such activities. This is into financing small loans. So I think the limit is around 50% of the loans should be below 25 lakhs. So it is for small loans. It will probably be for like small and medium scale enterprises. So that is how the two of them are different. The payment bank is for people who belong to the slightly weaker economical section, underprivileged people who want to keep their small savings, 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees in a bank, and do not want to go through the hassle of opening a proper bank account. So the payment bank would do the job for them. And this would help the SMEs in getting quick loan, small loans.
But why was need for such thing? You talked about small medium enterprises, or say even if something comes to my mind, it's farmers, etc. will take small loan. There are specific banks already for them, isn't it?
Yes, sir. There are cooperative banks. There are regional rural banks that are already there. But the idea behind doing them is there are regulations in this. For example, a condition is that 25%, at least 25% of their branches have to be in places where there is no bank. Okay. So even regional rural banks do not have such a deep penetration. So at least 25% means that the government wants financial inclusion. They want all the people to be covered under banking services. So yes, we do have branches of RRBs in very, very small villages, but they go beyond that. So they would want to be present absolutely everywhere. So that is the basic difference between this functioning of RRBs and all. Another reason for them to come would be that with the arrival of these, the competition would grow and it would always be good for the customer. For example, at times we hear people from small villages and towns complaining about the services of RRBs and all. So when there is a payment bank vying for that same customer deposit, even that small customer deposit would become extremely important. So my 70,000 rupees would probably be valued a little more by the RRB when I have an option to transfer it to a payment bank. So it serves both the purposes.
Just tell me, you talked about all this. Have you heard of on-tap licensing?
Yes, sir, I've heard about it. So this is again a reform, I'll say. Earlier, what used to happen that when they granted licenses, they used to do it in batches. So if let's say they do it once in 6 months, this is a hypothetical example. So they would evaluate all the people who have applied and then grant them licensing. Now, what they have started doing is that as soon as somebody is eligible for a license, then the person or that institution can be granted the license. That's called on-tap license.
Okay, good. Okay, till here, can we have a look?
SG again. Rise of Sivagami for Bahubali. Yes, that is that same writer, Anand Nilkanthan, right?
Simple, yeah. RRBs had deeper penetration, and the same reason that Abhishek sir is giving here, no, for specific work. For example, even SBI did not have presence initially, and then they developed Agriculture Development Branch. The ADBs of SBI had very similar function to what RRBs were. Okay, so we needed more financial inclusion, and that was the reason to go into debt. So that is the reason why the PSUs could not do what RRBs could do, and what now RRBs are not able to do, these new banks are supposed to do. It's a straight hierarchy, and again, why so many are needed? There is no problem. Whoever will be most efficient and most viable will ultimately win the game. The others will be just kicked out. No issues there. अब बताओ इसमें क्या problem है? How do they benefit from small payment and small farmers? Farmers को small finance bank, they are they know them, they understand how to first international bank bring them, and you cannot expect them to gain that expertise of going and giving loans in Moradabad or Saharsa. Please try to understand. They will not understand their mentality. They will not understand what demography they have, what is a cultural belief they have to give loan, to give money to people, to understand them. It is a different ball game. Please, you have to understand. Not everyone can do everything. Giving loan to the corporates is quite different from giving loan to the farmers. It is a specific task. No, if I transfer you after 6 months from giving loan to a farmer to dealing into foreign exchange, your life will change. Similarly, for these banks, they need to develop expertise. I am not sure how many of you would have heard this. Your chairman for State Bank, he also said, they asked him point blank, are you not mismanaging the assets? You have such large NPAs. And he answered, it's not because of the bank. Yes, we did mistake when we lent to the power sector, or when there was a frenzy after, which led to that twin balance sheet problem. All these terms that I'm saying, please look it up. That's why I'm using it. So this frenzy, there was a reason behind it. Really look, आपको क्या लगता है all the bankers were like taking bribes or money? No, there was absolute reason for them to believe that things will be hunky-dory, and then they started competing among themselves. They went overboard with the lending, and then that twin balance sheet problem, all the NPAs are, if you can say, the genesis of all the NPAs are somehow linked, other than the private sector forced lending and crony capitalism, is also linked to those binge lending. Please read about all these things. Why it happened? How did they get it wrong? So even SBI, you will say, the biggest bank, they agreed. The chief of SBI agreed that they did not have the competence to fund the larger project, the infrastructure project, the power project. They got it wrong there. So you have to understand there is niche which needs to be developed. So there has to be certain bank which is doing some. So giving loan to the farmers is completely different from giving loans for development project, and hence you need these special players. Okay, they will bring in efficiency, they will bring more customized service which is needed for that particular. Ek bande se if I ask you to read 100 subject, will you be able to do it? It's a simple analogy that I am giving you. But if I ask you to be good at one, there are more chances. You will become or not, but there are more chances. So now if there are 10,000 people have to do well in 100 things, for each of them you have say 100 people, chances are finally I'll get a good output, right? That is why I'm encouraging competition. That is why I'm bringing more and more people to do that niche job, so that tomorrow they cannot complain, even this part I could not handle. That's the reason. That's the thought process of RBI there. You can read. I think that's what I have quoted from.
I think that is there in that sheet.
Yeah, also there, and even in Raghuram Rajan, I think if you read his interviews or any of his speeches.
Guys, there is a small PDF, 8-page PDF that we have shared. That is there. If you look at this video or that Facebook post of mine that we call that.
All the questions are there.
All the questions are there. The threads are there. Now the cross-questioning part has to come on your own. You have to cross-question yourself. क्या पूछ सकते हैं? For example, somebody was asking what is the use of on-tap licensing. Why was that question needed? He just gave me the term. I answered it. I mean, it's a reform only, na? पहले batches में देते थे. Now you give
मतलब again. More competition in less time. It's as simple as that. मतलब इसमें what is so difficult about this?
Vivek, share link है यार. Look at your description. You'll make me crazy saying this again and again. Look at this description. There is a small video, not a small video, a 1-hour video, wherein what I've done is just explain how to do all of this and why do you need to give your 100% to this exercise. Just look at this video. You'll understand everything. I know that all of you are smart enough to understand this, but the problem is that many of you have not seen it. Look at it once, you'll understand everything, all the resources that we have shared. Please do it.
Core banking solution में क्या है यार? मतलब when you are asking it, if you just type it on Google, you will get it. It's all interlinked branches. That's his core banking. Initially, all the customer were customer of a branch. Now you are customer of a bank. That's core banking solution to put in layman terms. Why you become the customer of the bank? Why it was not earlier you were customer of the branch? Because there was no interconnectivity. There was no way you could talk to each other. Then why cannot we be the customer of every bank present? Because then there is no competition, and then again that part will go. So every bank serving every customer does not make sense. So you have some entities which are competing among themselves, and hence you will get better and better service. Otherwise, then it will be a straight monopoly, and then again it will be ruined. I hope that part is clear. Core banking solution just means one thing: all the branches are interconnected because of the technological advances through internet. So even if I have, in fact, that's the truth. I have my account in Saharsa, but I can operate here in Delhi or when I go to Amritsar. That's core banking solution for you. अब बताओ इसमें क्या है यार?
If you've got a genuine question on banking that you think is very difficult to answer, not the stuff that can be found on the internet, some debate, for example, some of you asking इसकी क्या जरूरत है, वो क्यों करना है? If you can genuinely not find answer on the internet, put it on our FB group. We'll take it up during one of the upcoming sessions. I promise you we'll do that. Sandeep sir will answer that. I'll ask him questions. Easy part comes to me, and we'll grill him about क्यों जरूरत है, why not merger, and all these things. But please have a genuine question first. If you ask me, ये होता क्या है, तब problem है. होता क्या है, you'll get it on Google very easily. And if you ask me, I could not understand this part. Why is this needed? Why is the mergers needed? What would happen? What is the implication? I mean, if it's something that you cannot understand by surfing the net, then it's fine. Otherwise, do not ask questions. You are not qualified enough to ask us questions. First, do your homework and then ask us questions. It'll make more sense.
Yeah, put those good questions. If you really think you do not have an opinion about something. What is Jan Dhan Yojana? मतलब अब मैं बताऊंगा कि you can just type this. If had you typed it on Google, you will get it. Ask our help where you really need it. यार, anything that you can just type on Google and gives you the answer. उसमें why are we wasting each other's time?
And we are actually going through all the questions that have been posted by you. All these profiles and everything.
Tell us,
inspired by that one.
Are we kind of taking easy way out? We are taking the most difficult profile.
अब देखो ना ये क्या प्रोफाइल है, but I think I could do some justice to it. खराब तो नहीं था, मतलब ऐसे तो नहीं बोलेगा सीधा बाहर निकाल देगा. Accordingly, prepare your profiles. Most of you would have easier profiles than this. अब क्या हो गया, fresh engineer हो गया not, and you keep saying sir engineering को justify नहीं कर पाता. अरे engineering को justify नहीं करना है. You have to talk about things that you learned during your engineering. How you value your 4 years at this college. What you learned. How you have changed individual because of that. And probably just this one last question. Why do you not want to get into an IT company? Why into this? Talk about banking. Then do not malign IT companies. Sir काम खराब है. गधों की तरह काम कराते हैं. Testing में लगा देते हैं. No. Talk about what a bank can do to your career. It's very simple. You do not have to speak about negatives. नहीं, पता नहीं कौन कहाँ बैठा होगा वहां पर. आपको सिर्फ उस बारे में पॉजिटिव बात करनी है जिसमें आप इंक्लाइंड हो. It's very simple. This is the rule of thumb for all the interviews. I'm not saying that कि उसको मतलब ऐसा बना दो कि 100% टाइम्स ये होगा, but 95% of the times you'll be avoiding the negatives and just talking about the positives of what you want to get into. हो जाएगा आंसर. करके तो देखो. You have to try this. If you are looking for model answers, you would not find model answers. And believe me, if somebody writes these answers for you, you'll get stuck in the interview. A cross question comes, you'll get stuck because that's not your line of thought. It's somebody else's answer that you copied. When it's your line of thinking, then you cross question yourself and make the complete story. If the story is complete, समीर सर मेरे से कुछ भी पूछेंगे मैं आंसर कर पाऊंगा क्योंकि मुझे पता है ना कि मैं क्या बोलने वाला हूँ. Otherwise threads उसमें अधूरे रह जाते हैं. I hope you understand this message.
चलो इसको पहले crisis capitalization of bank. I think there was a good question. I think a girl had put that.
Take it up.
Yeah, we'll take it up later. As the basic saving account and all has destroyed banking. These are the controversial questions which you can expect as an opinion in interview. What is Janhan? This does not account for that. Yeah, come on, just think about it. NPA crisis capitalization and cryptocurrency. Just Google it, and I think I have done a session on in my banking awareness session. I have done in detail whatever I think up to your level, whatever you need, it's covered already. That is that gives me heartache. When something which we have already done, you come and ask you as following us supposedly, and then you have not even finished the basic homework. That's not something we would really appreciate. Chalo, let's quickly finish this now. Okay, Abhishek. So, what do you think is your biggest weakness?
So it's a tricky question. Sir, I have this tendency of trying of getting very involved in stuff. If I can give you a small example, I used to teach while I was preparing for civil services. I used to teach in a school. I used to teach history to 9th standard students. Now, history is generally a subject that's considered boring by many people. So when I used to teach history, I used to teach with a lot of passion. And generally the numbers of hours allocated to me always kind of used to fall short because I used to teach it in the form of stories and all. And I was perennially, running a race against time. So this is a kind of weakness in the sense that something that is to be finished in 8 hours is to be finished in 8 hours, and I tend to take a little more time because I get involved. So yes, that is something that comes to my mind when you talk about weaknesses.
That's really bad.
No, sir, but I finished it in 8 hours only. That is just an example that the inner self always feels like doing a little more, because if the students are taking interest, you are interested, that conversation becomes interesting. So it's not like I'll go there and deliver a monologue. So I'll go there, have an interaction, and at times those 45 minutes just used to run past very fast. So yes, I faced a problem, but I could finish it. I'm learning from my mistakes. I fell short of it in the first 2-3 sessions, but then I kind of...
Teaching students is a different thing, but not meeting deadlines in bank will be a big problem.
Sir, I would differ here. On the contrary, I think if it's about homework, then I'll be doing it. For example, I used to put in a lot of effort into my teaching in terms of homework. So if you're saying meeting deadlines, let's say I have to submit a presentation by evening. If I know it in advance, I work overnight or do whatever, I'll finish it up. But the problem was to finish that task in 45 minutes. If you have to explain a particular topic in 45 minutes, that used to be the problem. The homework never was a problem over there. So if I have to submit a balance sheet, let's say at 5 o'clock, I'll do whatever I have to do it in the best possible manner and to my complete satisfaction. I would not leave it semi-cooked and never be late for it. It is just that specific thing when I have to deliver something in 45 minutes and I think it deserves 75 minutes. It is just that. So you can take my word for that. Delivery and all would never be a problem with me.
Okay, thank you, Abhishek. Okay, see, again here you will before you say that, I'll preempt here. Idea is what is the learning here? Don't copy this, okay? Idea is whatever weakness you give, you first of all have a valid logical, say basis for it, why you are having it, and then you are able to defend it. That is what he did, okay? And please don't choose, even if being short-tempered is, again, I'm not saying to lie, but you might have some other weakness, highlight that first. Being short-tempered in bank, you might just lose your head on a customer, don't do that. Choose something which might not, all of us have many faults, right? And I'm not being untruthful, yeah, it's a half truth, but if I tell I choose two which are not bad for the bank, it will be in best interest of everyone. That is what I will say. You might find me morally a bit shaking here, but I know for sure, yeah, I will not suggest my student to go there and tell your short-tempered and impatience are two things that you are really worried about. Trust me, I'll be surprised if you get through a banking interview. There, some strict no's, if I'm asking you to become, the person in the blood bank, someone who has to take the blood samples, and you have phobia of blood, will I select you, however honest, however good you are? If you come and tell me that, is that possible? So just first of all think, what are the qualities which banks will never accept? Impatience, rudeness, short temper. If these are your shortcomings, start working on it before you reach, there, and kill these bad habits. They are anyways not good for anybody. And then try to find the other one. Talk to your mom and dad, and tell them to talk to you frankly. They will tell you at least 20. Don't worry about it.
But choose weaknesses while stating in a particular situation. So for a bank job, there will be some weaknesses that are strictly not recommended. And so don't.
Three I have told you. Please, if you have that in mind to tell, think again.
And so one word weaknesses are always a problem. When you say short-tempered, when you ended there, how would you handle the customers then? Somebody said late riser. That's not something I'll advise you to put here. Kya purpose hai? Why are they asking your weakness? Two reasons. One is they want to check if you fumble. Fine. Can you handle a question like this? This is one. Two, they want to know if you are self-aware. If you think about your personality, think about things on which you need to work and improve. These are the two things. So if you can handle this question well, good. Otherwise, आपको क्यों बताना जरूरी है? नहीं है ना जरूरी. So if you can answer this question well, that's good enough.
And third, I will say it is a red flag also. As an interviewer, my duty is to select the best candidate. I asked a candidate what is his weakness, and he said, मेरे को गुस्सा आता है ना, मैं सामने वाले को थप्पड़ मार देता हूँ.
वो तो खत्म हो जाएगा.
And if I select him, so all three purposes are served, right? And that is why we suggested you this. Okay, so be careful with the weakness. Have a good logical, if it does not impact your working in bank, better. And finally, you are working on it. Most important part is you are working on it. You have realized there is some fault in you and you are trying to amend it. Okay, that's very important.
Please do not say things like मैं देर से उठता हूँ and somebody else said food, I'm a foodie, I like spicy food. ये सब मत बोलो यार. This is not a weakness. They are asking about your personality. अब बोलते हो सर मेरा ना बाइसेप्स का साइज पड़ोसी जितना नहीं है. ये क्या वीकनेस है यार? बैंक के लिए सोचो, अकल का इस्तेमाल तो करो एक बार. Ask questions. सर मेरी ना स्ट्रेंथ उतनी नहीं है जितना मेरा जिम वाले फ्रेंड की है. This is not a weakness. It's not asking about physical weakness here. He's asking about a trait of personality. Probably that's something related to banking knowledge. Introvert is a personality trait. That's okay.
Sir, I'm an introvert. There are times when it was all. When I later talked to the person, he was ready to help me, but on that given moment, I did not ask for his help, and my introvert nature cost me. But I have learned from it, and I'm working on it.
Absolutely.
And as simple as that.
Not fluent in English. Many people sorry interrupting. Not fluent in English. यार ये कोई weakness नहीं है. Not fluent in English वो दिख जाएगा उनको already.
Even we are not fluent in English. यार in India में there are very few people who are fluent in English.
Think about it. Don't say such things because ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए that you are just running away from it. कि कुछ भी बोलना था तो you just said anything. Sir,
ignoring my relative नहीं यार, grow up please.
दीपक ये किस तरीके का आंसर है? This is actually a bad answer. Ignoring my health. I mean it's not a weakness. How do I explain it?